Thank you very much for staying with us. News Center continues now. I understand that we have some hope that the network is going to be back on shortly, and therefore we'll be able to connect with our reporters on the ground. But remember that we're having a conversation here in the studio, and we'd like you to chime in. Of course, if you have Wi-Fi, just chime in into the conversation. Tell us what you think about this primaries this time round. Jubilee is taking a second stab at it, starting from today. We'd like to hear your thoughts on it. All right, let's continue with our conversation. And I want us to talk about the disputes that will arise after these primaries are over. Are we likely to see disputes or more and more candidates running as independents?
The disputes will be a waste of time. You know, the timelines will not allow you to resolve those disputes. Mm-hmm. So the most strategic thing to do is prepare your people. Let them be on standby.
What do you mean by prepare your people, Martin?
You need, for MCA, you need 500 people who are not members of a party. Mm. So you must have them on standby so that the moment they deny you the ticket, you rush to IBC, present a symbol and present the names. Then you're on the ballot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can see some of the places they are delaying the process intentionally so that there is no room for you to raise those disputes. Even if you raise and they are legitimate, they tell you, but you see it's late. So there's very little we can do.
All right.
So the only way is move very fast and go in as an independent.
Let's talk specifically about some of the counties that, they keep postponing. It's like the parties are getting cold feet as they draw nearer to the primaries. And that, of course, there's Kisumu, then there's Siaya. The cancellation or postponement, rather, is it intentional? Are there still background conversations and negotiations that are happening?
It's intentional. In Siaya, Gumbo is very strong. Mm-hmm. And Oduol, William. Oduol ran on his ticket and actually won the elections, but there were issues. The court said he had won, but they could not declare. So he's still fairly strong, but he's not as strong as he was in 2013. So Gumbo has come in, but Gumbo has issues with the owners of ODM because he forced himself and became the chairman of the PSC. You know, that had been reserved for John Badi, the chair of the party. So
it had?
Yes. Mm-hmm. When Ababu resigned, you remember when Ababu was forced out, the party leadership wanted Badi to take over. So Gumbo conspired with the Jubilee MPs who were in the committee and a few of his colleagues from the opposition and got elected. So the party leadership has not been very happy with him. But he's done quite some serious work in Siaya. Mm-hmm. You know, those are our neighbors, and I was in the village yesterday. So I move around in Cognito, around Yala and these other places, trying to get the feel. And he's very strong. And if the nominations are free and fair, we expect either him or Rasanga or Oduol, one of the three, to take the ticket. Mm-hmm. But the party leadership seems to be more comfortable with Kerry Orege, former PS, and is related to the Odinga family. Mm-hmm. So if there are any disputes among the three, and they can also engineer those disputes so that they disqualify the three and say that, look, now this is a guy we are giving the ticket. They did that before in 2013. I think that must be the script, so that you don't create room to allow them to resolve those issues. The same thing is likely to be replicated in Kisumu, because in Kisumu, the preferred candidate is Professor Nyong'o, running with Ruth Odinga, who is Raila's sister. But Nyong'o has very little support.
The party's preferred candidate?
Yes.
But what about the people's
The people's candidate is Ranguma is still strong. And in second place will be Makombewa. But there is some move to try and get the supporters of the two to fight. Then they tell you, these guys are in discipline, so you disqualify them and give Nyong'o the ticket. But if the two are denied the ticket, they'll definitely run as independents. And if they run as independents, they'll beat Nyong'o.
Okay.
And the one good thing about the Kenyan voter, the voter is getting enlightened every day. And the will of the people will prevail. You saw it happen in Western Kakamega. Most of those MPs, they lost the ground long time ago.
Okay.
And there were a few issues in the nominations, but by and large, you could see the voters, the number of MPs, the number of votes the MPs were getting was so small that even if you repeat, like now they are going to repeat in Shinyelu.
Yeah, Shinyelu.
Anami will still lose. I can tell you for free. And just wait for the results, you will see. Because he lost support long time ago.
From the people.
Most of the people who campaigned for him, he abandoned them, you know, starting with the boy who was a campaign manager, Geoffrey Mitalo. The rest of the team, they are not with him. Okay. Now they are moved the other side. They are all working with Kizito. So those issues are going to come up, and the party leadership might try to force certain candidates. But you know what is going to happen is it will affect them in the presidential tally.
We'll get to that conversation, Martin, just shortly right now. But we want to cross over to Elvis Kosgei. He's joining us from Elgeyo Marakwet. Thank you very much, Elvis, for joining us. So just give us an update of how voting is ongoing there, if indeed it is. What's happening?
Thank you, Betty. You've been traversing this Elgeyo Marakwet County, which has 4 constituencies. We have Keio North constituency, we have Keio South constituency, Marakwet East constituency, and Marakwet West constituency. But of great concern is that the ballot papers for the governors and MPs post have been missing in some of the polling stations. And I'm now joined by the Elgeyo Marakwet County Governor, Engineer Alex Tolgos. We've been told that the governor's ballot papers have been missing in some polling stations here.
Yeah, I can confirm that as we speak, there are some polling stations which voting have not started because of the missing ballot papers. In Iten Rural, the ballot papers for the members of parliament are missing. In Mintililo and Kamotony, the governor's ballot papers are missing. So we are now trying to talk to the returning officers and the Jubilee election board members to see how they can even look for copies from other stations, or if possible we can agree as aspirants or even our agents can countersign, and we do a photocopy, because after all the copies that we are doing we are using our photocopies and they are not serialized. So the best thing for the party officials is to allow photocopies to be used. Otherwise, the voters have refused to start voting unless they get all the ballot papers for all the candidates who are vying for different seats.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, some aspirants and residents have been raising concern over the use of 2013 IBC register. What do you say about this?
I think there's a challenge because we realized in most of the polling stations a lot of youth and old people have been locked out of the this exercise because their names are missing in the register. And I believe, because somebody said they used the IBC 2013 register, but that is not true, because most of the old men who voted in 2013, their names are not in the register. So it means they are using Jubilee register, meaning that those who had not registered as TNA or URP members are not in the register. Yeah.
Maybe let's also bring on the Deputy Governor to just give us an overview about the voting process.
Yeah, other than the few incidents that have been seen in Kamotony, Mindililwa and Iten Rural, generally the process has been smooth across the county. We are checking with our chief agents in Marakwet East, Marakwet West and Keio South. Generally the process is smooth. And I think that with the county returning officer and also the returning officer for Keio North being here, we hope that a solution for these two should be available within a very short time in order to allow people who have been in the polling station from as early as 5 o'clock to continue with the voting process. But generally we think that the results that come out should be a general reflection of the people, the will of the people of Elgeyo Marakwet County. We think that is what should happen. So we are working towards a solution, and most candidates are in agreement to any kind of intervention that is going to be taken to remedy the situation. Thank you.
Lastly, let's talk to the Member of Parliament of Keio North constituency, James Migori. I've been told that the ballot papers for MPs are missing in some of the polling stations.
That's right. Rural polling station, there is already no MPs ballot papers. We don't know where they are, and that has stopped polling in that station. It's already going towards midday, and most voters will have left. So we are seeing something that may reduce actually some of us. In my stronghold, some of them, the ballot papers are very few. Cheberen, Chelingwa, I've got, and Katalil West. Ballot papers are very few, considering. And then the aged, most of them are being turned away. And these people have voted for the last 20, 30 years. And they are told that their names are not there. What happened?
So what register are they using, the 2013 VIBC?
To tell you the truth, I don't know what sort of register is this. Because if it is 2013, some of those old men will be there. If it is 2016, they should be there. Even if it is 2017, they should be there. So they are turning away, and there's something fishy there. I believe there is something fishy.
So what's the way forward as an aspirant in this county?
They have to find a way for the aged who have been turned away to vote. And we are meeting with the secretariat now, the board, to see how we can bring them on board. Because it's really unfair. It's unfair for them. Okay? To tell you, there's plenty of irregularities in this nomination exercise in Keyo North.
Okay.
Yeah.
Many thanks. That was James Migori, the Member of Parliament of Keyo North constituency. And we'll be traversing different constituencies in this Elgeyo Marakwet County, and we'll keep an eye and also update you of what will be happening in this county.
Maybe before I let you go, you could talk to us about the turnout of people now that there are issues, and this is a second stab that Jubilee is taking in these primaries. Is the turnout the same as it was last week?
Compared to last week, I can say no, because since these irregularities that we have been seeing, residents have been turned away, and some are still waiting for the ballot papers to arrive in different polling stations. But going by the insecurity menace that has ravaged the runaway insecurity in the region, which has wreaked havoc in this region, some of the residents in some parts of the Tot area, Marakwet West and Marakwet East, we have been told is relative calm at the moment.
Thank you very much, Elvis Kosgei. They're reporting from Elgeyo Marakwet, where there seems to be a bit of issues. There is insufficient number of ballot papers for some of the posts, including Member of Parliament and the governor's position. Let me hear your thoughts, Alfayo, on this. I mean, you know, we still do not expect to see issues today, especially with the president coming out so strong, saying, I'm sorry, you know, but, you know, we'll ensure that the process is smoother come Monday. But in some places, like he's reporting, it's not the case.
My thinking about the whole thing is that we are in a very dangerous situation because, as Martin alluded to, there are so many anomalies that if somebody was to go to court, I think there'll be justifiable reasons that some of these processes can be reversed. Because, as I said, under Article 38, everybody has to enjoy their political rights. And if we are hearing a lot of people being turned away, the question is, Jubilee received a lot of money. They were charging a lot of fees for nomination. And with that kind of money they received, they should be able to have had more credible elections. But I think, again, when you look at it, it is a catch-22 situation even for the party itself. In the sense that, you know, the IBC said you can only carry primaries between the 13th and the 26th. Again, that is something that really, in my opinion, was not necessary.
Was not necessary. Yeah. Okay, Alfayo, we'll continue the conversation. Let's now cross over to Migori. I understand that Ochilo Ayako, who is the governor aspirant there, he's addressing the media. Let's just listen to that.
For the loss that is imminent, he is definitely going to be beaten in this race, and he's setting the mood for that.
We have seen in past elections, past nominations, is the acceptance of results. For example, if they're not favoring, for example, a particular candidate, you as Ochilo Ayako, a candidate for the governorship seat in Migori, will you concede if, for example, the results are not in your favor?
I am an experienced politician. I'm not a greenhorn. I know when I have won, and I also know when I have lost. I can tell you that there are all indications that I'm going to win this. And you can carry out your exit polls or exit interviews, and you'll find out that we are doing pretty well. So if in the unlikely event that we do not make it, and all indicators, objective indicators, indicate that that is the situation, I think I am a better gentleman than most people know. I will submit to the will of the people.
Is there any question from you?
There goes a former minister who served in the ministries of energy and sports, as well as being a member of parliament for Rongo constituency, Ochilo Ayako, after casting his vote, of course, expressing his confidence that he will trounce the current governor, Okoth Obado. So far, so good. We are keeping an eye on events as they continue unfolding here in the vote-rich and ODM bedrock Migori County. From now, we want to find out what else could be happening in other areas, for instance, Nyatike, far-flung constituencies where we understand that there are still some challenges. From here at St. Mark Tomboya Secondary School, this is Duncan Haemba. Over to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much, Duncan Haemba there, and he's going to be keeping us updated on the voting process. As you see, it is underway, and Ochilo Ayako had just cast his ballot just moments before he addressed the media. I'd like to hear your thoughts, Martin, about this race between Ochilo Ayako and Okoth Obado. Who's better placed to take this ticket, even as he sounds really confident there?
I think Obado will still take it. But you know, they have what they call Kanyawanga and Kanyamgambo.
What?
Kanyawanga.
Okay.
Kanyawanga are the grandchildren of Kawanga. Kawanga are the Luos who came from Umias, the likes of Aknaraila. And the Wangas, the Kawanga, are the ones who in game, the likes of Sekoyo Midi. Then Kanyamagambo are the original inhabitants of that place. So there is that rivalry. So Raila favors these other ones, the ones of Ochilo Ayako. But it's not going to be very easy. You know, there is also the wife of Anyanga. She is running, and she's been very formidable. I don't know why you are not...
She's strong?
Yeah, she is quite strong. And she had actually ran a very strong campaign. Then they forced her to be the running mate of Professor Okongo Yugi. You know, Professor Okongo Yugi was detained with Raila. But they lost. They were given the ticket after Obado had won. But when they went to the ballot, they lost with a very small margin. So they went to court, they still lost. Then Raila pushed him the other day and gave him a job at the Commission for Revenue Allocation. You know, the parties were getting slaughtered through parliament. So he managed to give him that job. So that lady is also very formidable. And I think she will have to play a major role in this whole equation. But I'll put my bet on Obado. You saw the party mandarins try to look like they are going to install Ayako and the violence that came out of it. So that tells you who is the favored candidate.
But maybe those who are sponsored skills.
They were not sponsored. Joho is the deputy party leader. Nyong'o is very close to Raila. Orengo is a key confidant. So you saw the entire brigade which was there. You see Junet Mohammed. You know, when you see those ones, you see that is Raila speaking. You don't need to be told. So they all went there. And of course, the chaos erupted. I think Obado was trying to protect his staff. But I think he overreacted. And it was very unfortunate what came out of it. But I still believe Obado is going to win. You know, Obado has been involved in sugar politics. And he has been down, he's basically a grassroots operative. So those ones are normally not very easy to beat. So, and he's done fairly well. You know, it's not very visible as a governor, but he's also not very controversial out here. So he still has that touch with the masses. And I believe, unless something drastic happens, he'll win. If he doesn't, and he believes the nominations have been shambolic, you'll see him run as an independent. And if he runs as an independent, he will still give Ochilo a run for his money.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your thoughts, Alpha. Earlier on, you're commenting about the issues that still seem to be dogging these primaries. And earlier on, we had our reporter speaking to the governor, Tolgos, complaining that, there's not enough material for the governor as position. Is this what we should be seeing right now after that promise by the president that come Monday, everything will be smooth sailing?
It can only add up to one thing. Maybe the suppliers who are contracted to supply this material, because I saw on the news yesterday at the party headquarters, I could see people packing things and moving them, distributing. So the logistical aspects. And I do believe that maybe the suppliers did not supply the items in time. There are some people saying that maybe Jubilee printed more T-shirts than the ballot papers. So really, we really don't understand what's happening. But it's,
it could just be an issue of logistics, nothing underlying.
Not really.
Martin,
of course, there could be like what Martin is saying, but I do not think any party that is in power would want to put itself to that kind of shame, because we want to give to so-and-so, then we delay because of that. I don't think they will get to that kind of...
I think Agufana forgets history. The guys who are in Jubilee are basically Kanu. They're Kanulets who are matured. So they learned all these funny behaviors in Kanu. And you see, that's why they wanted one major party. We spent a whole day on one of the stations telling them that it will not help you. You don't fix it when it's working. If you won this election as a coalition, why do you need to have one major party? And you see, look at the history of our politics. From 2002, it has been coalitions winning. Kibaki won as a coalition and NAC. PNU was a coalition, although the election was controversial, but they still won as a coalition. ODM was a single party couldn't get. In 2013, URP, TNA was still a coalition. So if they won the election as a coalition, what was the reason for trying to form one major party? Now, they will not be having all these problems they're having. And if they had gone their own separate ways, they had the parties, then you bring in more partners. You see, that creates room for ventilation. So you see, like in Jubilee here in Nairobi, if there was the Jubilee nomination, then you have a candidate running within the Jubilee coalition, but on a small ticket. You will not have all these wrangles you're having. Because it creates room for those who feel they'll not get an opportunity to still run. And that will not affect the presidential tally. But that time, nobody wanted to listen. So, and there is the gerrymandering, People believe that they want some of the governors to serve one term. They feel some of the governors have amassed money. So, and you can't have two elections in one. There is so much about 2022. Why do you talk about 2022 when you have not won this election?
2017.
Two, what guarantee is there that God will give you life to be there? Anything would happen,
Anything can happen.
So I think they are mixing up and muddling too many issues. And if they are not very careful, it can even cost them the presidency. Because when you hear the sentiments out there, people are now saying, look, we are not very happy. The only issue is that the opposition is equally in disarray. If they were a bit more organized. The likely fallouts in some of the places in Rift Valley would very easily give the opposition a lot of support, Those numbers by default. And if you get those numbers, then you tilt the ballot. But is it a question of incompetence? Because if you are running government, they run exams. They run exams, across the country. And papers are delivered on time. So why haven't they done that? It tells you they're incompetent, and mediocre. No wonder the country is in the mess in which it is. Because every big boy who runs, because it's called, now transformed into NASA, who are running most of the counties. Then Jubilee is running the national government and the other counties. So the incompetence you see in the parties is the same incompetence you see in the way they run the government, and the counties.
But is that a fair judgment?
It is.
And that's it.
If you cannot run a party, then how do you run a country? Because the people who are elected are products of the party. And you see, you are supposed, you know, you are, these are microcosm of what you are supposed to do at the national level. So try to run something that is credible, you know? Then when you take the government, you run it with the same slickness and efficiency. But you have, that's what you are supposed to do. Yeah, but they are not giving you stories, excuses, even after the president apologizes and says it's going to be credible. You can still see out there that the papers have not been delivered. So what does that tell you? The promise was hollow. Did he follow up? What is Tuju doing? By now, Tuju should have been fired and brought in somebody else who can be able to do something better. But Elgeyo Marakwet, KO is not as contentious as the other places.
Yes.
Yeah, Tolgos has been, he's a fairly low-key man, and he doesn't talk much. I don't know who is running against him. The guy who is known from there is Elgeyo Marakwet, is Murkomen.
Yes,
he was under Sieke sometime, but he's been up and about. So it seems maybe the pressure from Kimaiyo went down.
Went down.
Yeah.
Let's put Nairobi into focus. And this is the first time that, actually the second time that the primaries are being postponed for Jubilee. Why is that? What is this about Nairobi? Are they still having background negotiations between Sonko and Peter Kenneth, such that they have to still postpone till Wednesday?
I don't want to second guess what is happening in Jubilee, and I can't speak for Jubilee.
But just by the fact that they've postponed this twice.
Personally, I think that it's not an easy thing. I keep on saying that running a nomination or an election is like a project. There are so many activities that have to take place. But as I've said, largely I blame the issue of the regime, the rules. Because if you tell people that you can't conduct elections, you can only conduct elections between this period and this period, you are micromanaging the political parties. And if you are giving that kind of a short time, and there are those suppliers you've listed that should bring in material just in time, and they fail to deliver on time, that's the only way I can speculate that most likely is because of that. Because I do strongly believe, if the party really wanted to have a reason, if government, the ruling party, wanted to have a reason to lock out any candidate, they'll always manufacture anything they want to do and they'll lock you out. So I do not want to...
That's a friendly comment on that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there are struggles. Of course, there is the element, like which I agree with Martin, that most of the people who have been given responsibility in Jubilee Party may never have ran any other election. Tuju may have been a candidate, but may not have a chance to run, a countrywide election. And he might have a good voice, maybe for voiceovers, but not for, maybe running commercial adverts for the candidates. But he may not be made for, being able to run this kind of magnitude of an election. And I think, as Martin is saying, it reflects badly on government. That if you cannot organize, just a simple party election, how can you then be able to homogenize the conflicting and competing interests running across the nation in different sectors? It becomes a challenge, and maybe in an idiosyncratic analysis, they would say that maybe this kind of behavior is what is reflecting in the way the government is running, and why things are not functioning as they should be. And it is important that, again, maybe they could have even subcontracted to, look for an alternative, because that was an option that was even given by the electoral management body, that we can maybe work with an intermediary who we can subcontract some of the responsibilities, but they are able to run for you. But the party opted to go the direction they went, and I would imagine that they may have assessed their own capacities and believe that they are able to the task. And again, when you look at it, it's not like running an election is a very difficult thing as it sounds. Many of us, as political parties,
thousands and thousands of aspirants,
as political parties, we've gone across the world trying to benchmark. We visited places like Denmark and so on and so forth. I personally want to say, as I said, when we talk about party, it's not just the officials, neither is it the secretariat. We also talk about the political culture of our people. Because for us, if you are given ballot material, the easiest thing that you'll start thinking of is how can I steal and stuff the ballots. But we've gone to places like Denmark, you go to an estate like Dandora, and the elders in that place will just organize and, ballot things, and we run and say it is so and so. But because in Kenya we have this culture that everybody is struggling to go into political leadership with the aim of making sure that once I have control of resources, then I can misappropriate to my benefit. And that brings in a lot of challenges that now it becomes a contestation that boils down into a kind of security issue that if we go this way, we are doomed. If we go that way, we are doomed. And I think that's the kind of catch-22 situation that Jubilee is in. They would want to have a sober person who is credible enough, maybe like Peter Kenneth, and as we've seen, the president was able to endorse Peter Kenneth. But
you're saying that he did not endorse him?
Of course, we have watched this on YouTube. You don't have to wait. And much as they speak in Kikuyu, some of us are multilingual. We are able to hear what the conversation was all about. So, on the other hand, it seems like the masses are with Sonko. So it is that fear that maybe then at that point that I can tend to agree with Martin, that maybe the powers that be would want to make sure that they control the outcome in a manner that by the time they are finished with the primaries, it is too late for somebody else to jump to another party.
All right,
so
Martin,
let's see how it goes down.
Let's see how it goes. Martin, we'll hear your comment on that when we come back from this break. So we'll take a break, and we'll be coming back with our continuing coverage of the primaries. Don't go away.